Whoa, boy, episode 3, the Thomas and Terrell Show. And we have a lot of stuff to talk about today. It's one of
Boy,
those
oh
days where
boy,
we got too much stuff to talk about.
man, this world is going crazy right now.
And I was up late last night and I'm going through X, formerly Twitter, and I see this video of the bridge collapsing in Baltimore. And it was a crazy video to see. Now, a lot more videos have been released. Did you see it?
Man, did I, man? It's pretty horrific to watch, man. And being a person that's been on ship before and seeing these cargo ships, firsthand, man, those are some huge ships, man. Especially being where I live now, the port is right down the street from me, so I see these type of ships all the time, man. And being in Virginia, you have these bridges that ships have to go under. So it's crazy. It's a scary thought, man.
Yeah, I was watching when I first saw the video. I thought it was some rural bridge over some creek, and clearly it's not that. Apparently, this is a very busy bridge that provides that cargo trucks use a lot to transport auto parts, food, all types of products to the greater Baltimore area. And they're talking about how it's going to deficiencies at the grocery store, at plants, auto parts. It's really going to affect that area until that bridge is repaired.
Not just that, but people use that bridge to commute back and forth going to DC to go to work, coming back. So, you got students that commute to the different universities out that way in the different cities. People coming from DC to Baltimore to go to school, Baltimore to DC, and vice versa for work. Man, that the impact as far as the economical impact, man, is huge. And it's already bad traffic out that way on the highways, and this is making it even worse. And the sad part is, man, there are lives that have been lost in this as well.
All right, let's take a look at the video.
Yo, what the fuck? What the fuck?
Now, language wasn't necessary, but let's take a look at it again.
Man.
Now, if you see those lights on the bridge, those are vehicles. My understanding is that construction was going on at the time of the collapse. So you had construction workers out, and if you look at the minutes before the video starts, there are cars and trucks, buses going back and forth, and all of those people ended up in the water or on that boat. And just imagine the terror. These people didn't know what was coming, and you just feel the sensation of falling. It's a horrible experience.
And that's like a scene out of a movie, man, like Final Destination type stuff. And I can't even imagine, quite frankly, that's like one of my worst fears, man, going over the bridge where there's nothing but the ocean right there, and like the bridge collapsing or the car just being blown over the side by wind. And to see that in person, not in person, but on the video, man, it's very, very terrifying to watch. And I feel bad for those families that lost loved ones, man. It was like 6 or 7 construction workers out there on the bridge working, filling potholes, just doing their job, trying to make a living to provide for their families. Now those families don't have a loved one anymore. Not counting, anybody that could have been hurt on that ship from the bridge collapsing and the containers falling everywhere and debris. Reading the article, man, they had to suspend the search because of the bad weather, how cold the water is, and so much debris in the water and containers hanging over the side of the ship. It wasn't safe. So supposed to resume search in the morning.
So listen, tell me if I'm wrong. A long time ago, as a heavy news consumer in my 20s, I probably believed everything that I saw in the news. I read the headline and I believed it. But now I see things and I think, is that what really happened? Something like this, people automatically think it's an accident. But in my mind, I'm thinking, could this have been on purpose? And for what? Why would somebody do this? There was a lot of news yesterday. A lot of things happening politically. Is this a distraction? Is this a false flag operation? Do you think I'm wrong for being skeptical about what I see in the news?
I don't think you're wrong for being skeptical about what you see in the news and what you read in the newspaper. We all know at this point, if you pay attention, they put out there what they really want you to know. They put out there what they want, and they can turn the narrative however they want you to perceive it to be a lot of times. So that's why you have to be careful what you're listening to, what you're reading, and really do your own type of research on things. This saying the ship lost power, right before it came, and they called Mayday before colliding with the bridge. But how fast was the ship going? And it takes a while for the ship to stop. You can't with a car per se.
Right. So let's take a look at a video. Somebody broke that down and shows the ship losing power. So let's take a look at that real quick.
Okay.
Now, you notice on the screen, you see the ship moving, but there's no lights. Let me start it from the beginning. Okay, so On the left side of your screen, you see it. The ship is going towards the bridge. It has lights on.
Yeah.
You saw the lights go off?
Yep.
Now the lights are back on. Boom, the lights are off again. And they turn back on. So it's my understanding that a ship that big, it takes about 1.5 miles for it to stop. So it's not like somebody in the ship can hit the brakes. So if the ship lost power, potentially that could explain why it hit the bridge. But why did the ship lose power? Why didn't the ship activate its horns or sirens? I mean, I don't know. Why didn't somebody call emergency services? Maybe they did. Maybe it happened too quick for anybody to react. There are a lot of questions. And just me being an attorney, the liability is going to be huge for everybody involved. I mean, the lawyers are probably already out there.
And that company they do good if they come out with $2 left in their pocket after this.
I mean, I could see $1 billion in liability. We don't know how many people died. I imagine it's more than just 6, but you have the lives lost and you have the property damage. You have the loss of commerce. Perhaps you have a class action for all of the people who are going to lose business, lose money as a result of that bridge collapsing. I mean, the liability is just going to be huge.
And then they have to rebuild the bridge. You know, the company is going to be held responsible for rebuilding the bridge on top of all that. And as a person that's been in the Navy, man, and being on a naval ship and understanding how big vessels go, man, and being able to stop this. All right, let me just put it like this. If people really want to understand how long it takes to stop a vessel going, even moving slowly, put it like this. If somebody was to fall off the ship and we have to turn around and get back to them, it would be at least 10 minutes or more. Just to sit down and start turning around and get back to them.
That's a long time.
So you're talking about 1.5 miles for that ship going slow. So you got to think of it even like a semi. A semi on the road, you pushing a brake, it just don't stop right away because of all that weight that's on behind it. That's the same thing with the ship. All that weight and as fast as going, it's a heavy vessel. It takes a while for it to lose momentum. So that was a very close call. And I've been on the ship where it's lost power. You be going and then the engine dies. Then the engineers are working hard. They can get it back up and going real quick. Then it can go right back out. So I can understand that standpoint of, I've seen that happen in person.
But where are the tugboats? And sometimes don't they have a harbor master, somebody, or a pilot? When you have
it's called a pilot boat. Pilot can come and
sometimes they bring their own pilot. If you're going through a tight area, for example, I went to the Panama Canal recently, and when you're going through the Panama Canal, they have canal pilot get on the boat or get on the ship, and they're the only ones who can pilot that ship through the canal.
Yeah, but that's not a canal. You understand? So if the captain of the ship is experienced enough with the driver, the pilot driving, you don't have to have a pilot that's local come on. I mean, it's a port going in and out. Now, like for me, when I went through the Suez Canal, like you, a pilot came onto the ship and took it through the Suez Canal. But not necessarily with the port. Yeah, you have tugboats. That's when it's coming into port and getting away from the pier, coming out. But that shit was pretty much in the water, out on far enough that it could be on its own. It didn't necessarily need the tugboat. The question is, like you were saying, what was the comms like? With communication with the bridge, trying to get, hey, there's no stopping, try to stop traffic. Imagine the time it takes to get people to try to stop traffic with all the cars coming at a high rate of speed, not to be in danger. At that time of the night, you don't have the full crew like you would during the day. So then what? So it's a lot of holes and a lot of questions that need to be answered with this, because even though that is the case for us personnel, you always have an emergency action plan, period, on what to do and people in place. The problem is, the people choke? Do people actually make the calls they were supposed to make? But regardless, there's going to be a lot of heads rolling, and there's a lot of people that's about to lose their job, And again, unfortunately, there's families that lost loved ones. How do you explain it?
There's a lot of layers to it. You do have the loss of life, which is the most serious loss as a result of this. But just imagine the loss of commerce and all of the people that's exposed to criminal liability. I mean, you might have the pilot of the ship, perhaps the mechanics that might be exposed to criminal liability. You have, from a plaintiff's lawyer's perspective, not only do you have the shipping company that's looking at liability, the manufacturer of the engine, the manufacturer of the navigational gear, the manufacturer of the backup equipment. You have the potential liability of the harbor master, or whoever's in control of that port, potential liability, or whoever built the bridge or maintains the bridge. Perhaps there'll be allegations that the bridge wasn't structurally sound. It should have been able to withstand an impact from a ship. From a lawyer's perspective, you sue everybody. You sue everybody in sight. There'll be class action lawsuits. There will be billions of dollars in liability and millions of dollars in litigation costs related to this. And again, it's sad to put it in financial terms, but you can't ignore the financial impact of something like this in a busy metropolitan area.
Yeah, I mean, the companies that are going to sue the shipping company for their products being damaged and lost and not being delivered.
Exactly.
So I mean that too. So I mean they're getting it from every angle possible.
That's right. I don't know if you ever saw the video. I saw a video of, it was on a cruise ship, and it was some teenagers. They were on the balcony, and one teenager thought it was a good idea to jump off the balcony.
Yeah, I saw that video of the dummy.
Into the water. And it was at night. And you see him bobbing in the water, and then he disappears. And perhaps this goes to what you were talking about, how long it takes for that ship to stop and turn around, because I believe the ship went back and they couldn't find it.
Put it like this: being in the Navy, we do drill a man overboard drills, and I want you to understand this. If I'm on watch, and you know, at nighttime, you've been on cruises, it looks like a black hole at night when you're in the middle of the water, in the middle of nowhere. It looks like a straight black hole. Now, if you fall overboard at nighttime, it's almost impossible to spot you unless I see you right then and there, and I have the spotlight on you. But even yet, if I had the spotlight on you and I do this, I've lost you, because that's how far you have drifted away that quickly in the water covering you up. You're a speck. So to me, that was just like crazy, just one of the dumbest things you can do, because finding a person in the water after you fell off the ship is very, very, very difficult. Very difficult.
I read a book, and you being in the Navy, I'm sure you heard about it. It was about the USS Indianapolis. This was towards the end of World War II, and that ship was in the Pacific, the South Pacific, I believe, and it got torpedoed by a Japanese submarine, and the ship sank. I think it was about 700 sailors who ended up in the water, including the captain, and they were out there, I believe, for a couple of weeks. Nobody knew the ship was missing, which is the craziest thing, and nobody was able to communicate with the ship, but everybody thought the ship was somewhere else. That's why nobody looked for it. And in the book that I read about the USS Indianapolis, is that it talked about the hypothermia that the sailors suffered. It talked about there was a shark attack. It was the entire time they were out there, there were hundreds of sharks circling around, and they were just getting picked off one by one. It was such a sad story. And the families of the sailors, for years, the captain survived. The families of the sailors, some of them, blamed the captain, even though it wasn't the captain's fault. The ship didn't have an escort. It was recommended that ships sailing in that area have escorts or other battleships or destroyers with them, because to protect them from enemy submarines. They didn't have that. The ship was sailing alone. It got torpedoed, and it really wasn't the captain's fault. But the sailors who died, a lot of their families blamed the captain, and they would not let him live it down. And eventually he killed himself years and years after this incident. It's a really sad story, but it shows you how dangerous the waters can be. It's sad. So we'll see what happens with this situation in Baltimore. Another story that's not great news. It happened in Russia, in Moscow. You had several hundred people at a concert, a springtime concert, there to enjoy the music, a very nice looking theater. These people were minding their own business, and there was a terrorist attack. 4 or 5 gunmen opened fire with automatic weapons and killed more than 140 people. And I don't know if you've seen the video of that, and we're not going to show it here, but the video is horrific in that, these gunmen were firing indiscriminately. And I've seen a number of these types of videos when you have terrorist attacks from gunmen, and invariably what happens, people try to escape and they group together. A lot of times they end up in a corner somewhere, and the gunmen just have them trapped and just open fire. And to see these people desperately just trying to claw their way through the wall, do anything to escape, and how they end up piled up on top of each other helpless to do anything. It's really, really sad to see. And I believe 4 of the gunmen were captured. Alleged gunmen were captured. Here is one of the gunmen here who was captured, and they actually videotape the interrogation. And listen, if you're going to do something like this, you really don't want to get captured by the Russians because they have a different over there. But they interrogated this guy. The information that they found out was that he received a call and he was offered 500,000 rubles to participate in this massacre, I believe from Tajikistan, which is near Afghanistan. 500,000 rubles is $5,000. He got paid 250,000 rubles in advance, which is $2,500 to massacre a group of people. And they caught him and his comrades.
Yeah, they got him pretty good, man. I seen them pictures, boy. There was a lot of.
Oh, did you see the after pictures? That's the before picture. Here's the same guy.
I was on CNN. Was it CNN or Fox? I seen the picture. They all had some swollen faces.
All right, so here's the same guy, the after picture.
Yep, that's the picture I saw.
And here's his friends. Now I laugh because listen, I believe in the justice system, but if you go somewhere and you massacre 143 people, you get what you get. And they lucky that they were able to even show up in court. And
they lucky that they were even somewhat recognizable.
So the guy all the way on the left, he has some type of bandage on his right ear.
Yeah.
So what they say happened to him is the Russian security forces cut his ear off and made him eat it. And I think if that's all he had to eat, I think he made out pretty good. He's lucky to still be alive. But you see the pictures of these guys. The guy all the way on the right, he's unconscious. They had him in a wheelchair. I believe one of his eyes was missing when they got finished with him. Well, they're not finished with him because when these guys get into some Siberian prison,
no, they're gonna die.
Yeah, it's not gonna be good for them.
No, they're gonna die. Putin, man, gonna kill them cats. No ifs, ands, or buts. Hey, I wouldn't be surprised if they were dead right now. Just being honest.
I think the worst thing that you can do to people is put them in a situation where they're defenseless. I don't know what the laws are in Moscow. I would imagine that they have very strict gun control. This is one of the reasons why I think it's a human right to be able to defend yourself. And unfortunately, I believe it's only a matter of time that we have a tragedy that massive in the United States. And we've had situations in the past. You had the shooting in Las Vegas at the Country Music Festival. Of course, you have the mass shootings at schools. I think we need to take our security here in the United States more seriously, not just at the border where you don't know who's coming in. They've caught people up from the terrorist watch list coming across the border. They have hundreds of thousands of gotaways. They don't know how many people come across the border that aren't captured or not observed. And, we have the Second Amendment here and access to a lot of guns. There's more than 350 million guns in circulation. Mm-hmm. But you combine those two factors, it's only a matter of time before something like that happens here.
I mean, you still have the shootings that happen at Walmart. Just where I'm at in Virginia, over there at Greenbrier, I think it was like a year, no more than 2 years ago. The mass shooting that happened at the Walmart. It was a shooting at Fairlane. I think it was just one shot though, but they were shooting in the mall. You have multiple mall shootings. America has the most mass shootings, I think, out of any country at this point that's been reported. But at the end of the day, you have the right to bear arms. A lot of people have issues with people having firearms. The problem is not the firearms, it's the people that have the firearms that don't have the mental capacity to operate in a good order. And I think that everybody has the right to bear arms like you believe, but it's not the guns. The guns don't work without the people doing it.
Well, look at Moscow. They have gun control there, but the bad guys had guns and the good guys didn't. Just imagine if you had 10% of the people in that theater who had the right to carry a weapon and they were armed. Heck, they would have the opportunity to shoot back, an opportunity to live. And it's unfortunate that they didn't. Some say an armed society is a polite society. And I believe in a lot of respects that's true.
Yeah, I mean, in Texas, they carry, damn near everybody in Texas has a gun. You don't see too many mass shootings in Texas.
Well, listen, you have, with more than 300 million guns in circulation, that's a bell that cannot be unrung. You can talk about banning assault weapons if you want to, but you have millions of those guns in circulation.
Let me ask you,
they're not going anywhere.
I'm going to ask you this.
What's that?
Which states have the most mass shootings, Republican or Democratic states?
I'm not sure. I haven't looked at a study, but I do know that mass shooters like unarmed victims. And typically you have these shootings in gun-free, quote unquote, gun-free zones.
Schools, theaters, churches.
Exactly. Because these
Look,
people are cowards. Inherently, they're cowards, and they don't want anybody shooting back at them. They like to shoot defenseless people.
well, guess what? I shoot back. So,
As you,
look, my old church, I went to my pastor and I said, look, one-on-one talk. Do you have a problem with me carrying my firearm in church? And he knew me. He said, no, I don't have a problem with you having your firearm in my church. You know, there's a couple other people that have it. But he knew I was a responsible gun owner. But one thing I would not allow to happen is for me and my family to be caught out somewhere and I'm not able to defend my family and give my best efforts to make sure that we can leave out alive. That's what I'm not going to allow. And I'm like Malcolm X, by any means necessary, where I defend my family and make sure we come out alive one way or the other. I give my life before I let them get injured.
there you go. There you go. Nobody's victim.
No, I ain't nobody's victim. I'll make you a victim before I am one.
There you go. So what's going on with Diddy, man? I turn on the news and I see Homeland Security. They at the mansion in Miami. They at the mansion in Los Angeles. You know, they about to give him that what's my man from that movie producer that they got?
Harvey Weinstein?
Yeah, they about to give him that Weinstein treatment, or R. Kelly.
Well, no, you ain't getting R. Kelly. You get the Weinstein. You know,
getting...
it's been speculations about Diddy, man, for years. You know, him and his business practices and, you know, doing people wrong. Allegedly, his all his business practices he's had, and allegedly all the people he's done wrong. Allegedly, these relationships, both straight and non-straight, same team relationships, as I would say, he's had. But look, man, you plant the seeds and eventually they gonna grow. You know, and if he did it, then he should be held accountable for everything that he's done. You know, if he didn't, you know, let him be. You know, it's a lot of speculation that, hey, they're doing this because, hey, it could be a big business move that he was in the process about to make, that they trying to tear him down so he doesn't make it. You know, the same thing like they were saying about Bill Cosby. You know, at one point they were saying Bill Cosby was trying to buy a network and he was worth so much money and they were trying to sabotage the deal. So all these cases came back from, you know, a while ago and accusations and stuff, and they destroyed his reputation and any chance of doing those type of things. I don't know. The same thing they said about Michael with all these allegations with doing stuff with kids and all of that stuff. And he was in the process of what Disney did with Marvel. Michael was talking about doing that decades ago. And his phone conversations recorded about him talking to his attorney about buying Marvel and making them into these movies, what Disney did. So I don't know. You know, I'm waiting for stuff to come out. It's not looking good for Diddy right now. But hey, I'm like, let's sit back and see what comes out and go. I mean, what happened with him and Cassidy don't look good. He gave him his money to shut up.
Yeah, I haven't seen any evidence. A lot of people say that they know. They're playing clips from Cat Williams' interview on Club Shay Shay, and he kind of suggested that he had some information and he knew what was going on. And you've heard other people say things, but I haven't seen any evidence. You know, Sean Combs is innocent until proven guilty. You know, they say he took his plane and went to Antigua or something, and he fled the country. I don't know if that's true. They had his sons in handcuffs.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's quite a turnaround. I mean, to see somebody so powerful, so accomplished, who may have been, you know, acting on some very evil impulses, maybe it caught up with them, but we'll see.
But here's a question though: how many other people are there doing the same thing, but they're choosing not to go after them?
Listen, I think this type of stuff is prevalent. I think especially in the music industry, especially in Hollywood, these are people with money, resources, and they're used to getting away what they're doing. Probably people in government and politics. I don't understand it. Listen, if you have that much in resources, you can get women, you can get men, whatever your interest is. Why do you have to mess with children? Why do you have to force people into something? What? I don't understand that. You know, you got a private jet, you got yachts, you got mansions, you got, you know, Bugattis and Bentleys. You can't go to the club and pick up a person who's interested. You got to force somebody to do it, kind of tied up in the closet. Got a room full of little kids, little kindergartners, and you, come on now, get some help.
Man, I think it's a power thing for people that are like that, man. They're sick, you know, very sick people, and it's about power. And man, look, when it comes to kids, man, that's one area, man. I get so riled up, man, and mad, and the thoughts I have are like out of this world. type thoughts of how I think you should be punished. Like I'm the way my mind think, man. People would think I'm a sadistic type of person. If I tell you about some of the tortures I would want to happen to people that abuse children, I'm the type of person, man, hang them by their private with some chicken wire and get a bamboo stick and split it and then make it to like little splinters and stick it down a shaft and you know what I'm saying? Cut their eyelids off so you can't close your eyes and go to sleep. I want you to see everything. Like, that's me. You know what I'm saying? Then I'll put a bunch of paper cuts on your body and then submerge you in lemon juice with salt. And, you know, like, I get sadistic with stuff like that, man. Like,
It seems like you've given this a lot of thought. They could use you as those terrorists.
I can't stand people that prey on kids, man. That I can't stand people that prey on kids, old people, man. It takes a different type of sick person, man, to do stuff like that. And I don't agree with you beating on women and you know what I'm saying, women beating on men, mental abuse, physical abuse. I'm not down with none of that, you know. But when it comes to kids, man, they're innocent. Now, a lot of them are defenseless, and you have the audacity to ruin that, man. Come on, man.
So they call him Diddy the Black Epstein. You remember Epstein? He had a lot of friends who were celebrities. He had a lot of friends who were politicians. I mean, the people who were on his flights included Donald Trump because he had a private jet and he had a private island.
Yeah.
And so you had Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, a bunch of celebrities who kind of hung out with him. So what happened to Epstein? Eventually, eventually things got caught up with him. He got arrested. He ended up in prison. I think he got found guilty. And all of a sudden, they say that he hung himself. He was under 24-hour watch. They had video cameras in his cell.
But the video didn't work during that time.
Right. So he was in a position to bring down a lot of powerful people. And apparently there were records, there were notebooks. Nobody's seen them. Epstein is dead. Now, if Diddy is the Black Epstein, he's looking at that thinking, damn, I love life. And they're about to find me somewhere strung up, because if you're the Black Epstein, you hooking up your perverted friends, children, minors, women who have been trafficked in sex. I mean, he is in a position with all of the people that he knows, all of his powerful friends, to get a lot of powerful people in trouble. So there's a possibility that Diddy might not be around for long, whether he wants to be or not.
Well, you know, it's speculation, man, that he had something to do with Kim dying mysteriously all of a sudden because she had something on him.
Kim who?
Kim Porter, his ex-girlfriend, the mother of his twins and like one or two of his other sons. So I think him and Kim Porter had at least like 3 to 4 children together. She was a model. She was actually assistants with Uptown Records, and that's how they met.
Okay.
And they started dating after a while. And first she was messing with Al B. Shore, and she had a son with Al B. Shore, which was Quincy, who Diddy calls his son. And he looked just like Quincy, looked just like his daddy, Al B. Shore. But all the people from Uptown Records that started off that had stuff, it's speculation that like Diddy had something to do with it. Because Harrell, he's gone. Heavy D, he's gone. Craig Mack is gone. Kim Porter gone. Al B. Shore damn near died from it. So it was just like a lot of speculation about him in that. But then again, we talking about Diddy and Epstein. But man, this stuff been going on. Shit, Elvis Presley met his wife when she was like 14 years old.
Right.
You know, you got, what was it, Johnny Cash and Chuck Berry. All these cats, man. And then what's that song? Airline or something? Sweet Airline. That song apparently was about some dude's daughter that was young. And it made it so this dude was a grown ass man.
Hold on, I just saw a beer commercial or something, and everybody in the bar is singing that song.
Yeah. So apparently
that song is about pedophilia.
Apparently it is. I don't know how true it is, but apparently that's what that song was about. And I'm like, if that's the case, how sick is that? I mean, But think about it. Aaliyah came out with Age Ain't Nothing But a Number. We all was grooving to it. And R. Kelly was all up on that.
Well, we've talked about this subject in past episodes about music and the effects that it has on people and the messages that are transmitted through music. And listen, people can say anything that they want about the song you're talking about, Sweet Caroline, or hard rock music and how it's satanic. I don't think anybody has hip hop beat as far as the negative messages and that are conveyed and how explicit it is. And listen, I'm a Black man living in America. I have Black sons and a Black daughter. I grew up in the inner city, and I see the effect. I know the effect that it had on me. I see the effect that it has on young people and it has on this community. People try to deny it. They try to say that music is just entertainment. It's reflecting the lifestyle of the people who make it, which is absolute nonsense. Because a lot of people who rap, they don't live the lifestyle that they rap about. And certainly the executives who authorize this music and distribute the music don't live that lifestyle. It's destroying entire communities. And so there's a rapper by the name of Glorilla. I swear I've never heard any of this person's music. I didn't know whether Glorilla was a man or a woman, but apparently it's a young female. And the only thing more disgusting than a man rapping about killing. I'm watching the news. Lo and behold, I see that this rapper Glorilla was invited to the White House. Now, before I get into exactly who this Glorilla person is and what she raps about, let's look at who she visited with and what they stand for. Now, this was just a recent headline from this month. VP Harris pushes gun control. She visited Parkland where there was a school shooting. And she was pushing for red flag laws, which is a form of gun control. And if you have Twitter, if you're on social media, President Biden, Vice President Harris, they're always talking about gun control. This is something that's very important to them. It's a big part of their platform. And you want to take them at their word that they're against gun violence and they're not going to promote anything that encourages gun violence because they're always talking about it, right? So you fast forward to see what Kamala Harris has to say. Here's a quote from Kamala Harris. You know, part of what I talk to families about is the fact that 1 of 5 families in America has a family member that has died because of gun violence, Harris said, according to Fox News, that the leading cause of death for children in America is gun violence. So justifiably, Kamala Harris is against gun violence. Okay, so it seems to me that if that's true, that everything that you do will be consistent with that message. After this White House visit, CNN had Glorilla on its air being interviewed by the interviewer happens to be a lawyer, very well spoken, very knowledgeable. But she's given this interview to Glorilla. Nothing about Glorilla's lyrics, nothing about Glorilla's rap about guns and choppers and AK-47s. She's just laughing and smiling, talking about her visit to the White House with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. They're taking pictures. It's just hee ha and no scrutiny about her music. And I find it absolutely disgusting. Now, I just want to talk about one song from this Glorilla person. And let's hear what she has to say and see if it's consistent with Biden's and Kamala Harris's message about guns and gun control. This song is called My Young Niggas, is the title of the song. I'm not going to go over all of it. My Young Niggas is the name of the song. This is the person that was invited to the White House. I be smoking dope with my young niggas. Off a flat, I be rolling with my young niggas. I be posted up with my bitches. This is a woman singing. I be hitting licks with my young niggas. Now, to those who don't know, hitting licks is a score, whether you robbing somebody or whether you selling dope. People who go to work and earn a check or entrepreneurs don't hit licks. They earn money. Hitting licks is the result of crime. Member toting big sticks with my young niggas. Again, this is street vernacular. A big stick is an assault weapon. A big stick is an AK-47. A big stick is an AR-15. Okay. This is the person that was invited to the White House who's hugged up with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, who are for gun control. They say they broke the knob. Broke the knob is street vernacular for you high, but you can't come down off your high. That's how high you are. This is what she's rapping about. She said, I might slide down your block, leave your ass in the streets. I ain't no killer, but you don't play with me. 32 shots in the Glock, and I won't skip a beat. So she's talking about doing a drive-by shooting. Now, based upon the language that she's using, I don't think that she's in the suburbs or out in a rural area. This is music made for an urban audience. And just in these few bars,
excuse me,
we see her talking about hitting licks, killing niggas, your ass in the street, carrying big sticks, 32 rounds in your Glock. We got all these motherfucking big ass choppers. That's an AK-47 is a chopper. One smoke, we're going to send you to the doctor. You don't want them bullets flying, helicopter, nigga singing, calling them Phantom of the Opera, young nigga dead, Go dig them up. I might do a show with the semi tucked. That's a semi-automatic gun. You ain't gonna make it. Just give it up. I just fucked your bitch. Now come pick her up. Okay, so this is who you invite to the White House. You know, you reward behavior that you want to perpetuate. I see these people in power say one thing. They claim that they believe that Black Lives Matter. They claim to be against gun violence. Yet they take pictures with Megan Thee Stallion. They take pictures with Jay-Z, a record executive who perpetuates this type of music. They invite Glorilla to the White House. And then this woman gets invited on the CNN not to be scrutinized about her music and why she's distributing this music to the Black community. But it's just hee ha ha laughing. To me, it's absolutely infuriating. And I don't see anybody talking about it. I don't see Fox News talking about it. I don't see MSNBC talking about it. I don't see CNN talking about it. And Black people in urban areas who don't, a lot of the families don't have guardrails. 70 to 80% of children who grow up in the Black community don't have a two-parent household. They don't have those guardrails to provide the examples necessary in order to avoid certain types of lifestyle. And that's why they get caught into this trap. And the music becomes a roadmap for how they live their life. The record executives give money to politicians. And usually it's only one party that they give money to. I mean, that's just the way it is. And all these people are silent about what's going on. And they're rewarding this type of music and these type of musicians selling this poison, this murder music to the Black community. And I think it's shameful. And people need to speak up. I know we talked about this before, but this was one glaring example that I couldn't ignore. I had to say something.
I'm going to put it to you like this. I don't like her as a rapper. I don't know her as a person. I've been saying this for a while that the music execs pump that type of music into the Black community on purpose. And we sit here and eat it up. And they don't allow that music in their communities and their kids to really listen to it, but they want us to listen to it and destroy ourselves. But you're talking about people that have been invited to the White House and what they're standing for and just degrading other people. Man, that stuff been going on with politicians for the longest. You know how many racist people been to the White House invited that have killed Black people, that have killed brown people, that have scammed people out of money, that have beaten their wives and, you know what I'm saying, molested kids. Man, you talk about politicians and the mess. You talking about what they allow to come in and what's not being talked about. Let's also put out there what's not being talked about are the politicians that are in office that have been bankrupt, that have been in for credit card fraud, that have been in there for beating their wives and molesting their children and cheating, but they want good morals, and I'm standing on good morals, and I swear, you know, if I ever see anything, women should not be hit. You know, we need to pump money into the community, but yet they stealing money from the community, you know? And so to me, it's like, hey, it's really bad, and we point out for our own people, yeah, but these white folks been pumping it into our community and doing this shit for the longest and still being invited and taking money from us, invited to these places and putting on a persona that is just unacceptable. But at the same time, I agree, we must hold ourselves accountable for our actions and what we allow in our house and what we're standing up for. Because it's not in the Indian community like that. It's not in the Middle Eastern community like that, you know, because they're standing up for stuff. In the Jewish community, it's not allowing just anything to come in their community. But they're the ones that own the record labels and the movie studios that are pumping this mess out there. And we just keep being like, okay, but I'm getting this money though. And I tell people, all money is not good money. So at what point do we make a stand? Because gangster rap came along when you're talking about the Ice-T, you talking about NWA and all that stuff, and then it changes narrative. That has just went totally left.
I had to go. Yeah. So I saw an article in the Detroit News, and it talked about a professor named Raven Jones, an associate professor of teacher education at Michigan State University and co-founder of the Zuri Reads Initiative, which promotes literacy across Metro Detroit. She said the word yo, Y-O, is one example of another way to say hello or refer to something as your in African American English. Jones wants her students, prospective teachers, to understand that there are many valid ways of speaking, reading, and articulating ideas, including in academic environments. So basically what this person is saying is that, you know, the language that you might find in informal conversations in the Black community should not be discouraged. It should, even in professional or academic settings, it should be accepted, taught basically like a dialect, and people shouldn't be marginalized or stigmatized for using it. So in school, kids, if you say, I don't know, because I don't want to, I talk informally. People call it code switching, and you might talk about what you fixing to do, what you ain't gonna do, not articulating your words, and basically teaching kids in school. That's okay, because as long as you get your point across and you communicate, and the listener understands what you're saying, then why not? What do you have to think? What do you say about that?
Look, I call it like this. It's the two P's, personal and professional, man. What I do in my personal time and how I communicate with my family, and friends is one thing. But when it comes to being in a professional environment, it's another thing. And if I understand what she's saying, but at the same time, is that really the correct thing to do? Even how me and you talk. You're a lawyer. I'm a medic in the Navy. We're pretty well educated people here. However, when we have our conversations at times, man, we can sound like some of the most ignorant people on the face of the earth. You know what I'm saying? But we understand one another. We have a good time. But is that how we're going to go out and represent ourselves out in a professional world? No. And is the professional world going to accept that type of dialogue? I highly doubt it, because a good person to talk that makes the example is Eric Thomas, the motivational speaker, right? He's from Detroit, and one of the things he said in one of his speeches was he's always been good at speaking, but he was never able to really get into the corporate world and do motivational speeches because he didn't understand their language. Once he understood the dialogue and their language and how to approach to them, then the doors were open and he was able to do whatever he wanted at that point. He was able to sneak in stuff here and there, but he wasn't able to break that door down until he understood the language, because they didn't understand certain dialogue. And the same thing if you're talking about legal stuff. It's certain legal dialogue that you will speak in court that other people may not understand, but on a professional level, when it comes to being in law, is what you need to do. You have to
listen,
know.
man, listen. I'm studying Spanish, and some of the Spanish lessons I've taken, they say that the language has evolved. That a certain way that you would have spoken Spanish 30 years ago is you don't speak it that way today. So language can evolve. Why not say that when it comes to quote unquote Black English or African American English, that we just can't, the language must adapt to how people speak it. For example, if you look at a contraction, we learned about contractions in school, can't or won't. That's simply the language, formal language adapting to how people speak, and it became formalized. If they could do it for them with contractions, how come they can't, the way we speak can't be accepted and formalized? Because I speak Black English does not mean I'm less intelligent. I understand that argument. I see the argument. However, I disagree with it in this sense. I see a trend of dumbing down expectations for children, for people, especially Black children, saying because you're not achieving the goals, we're just going to lower the goal. That's not how you achieve. That's not how you achieve success. It's called the soft bigotry of low expectations.
No, you know what I call it? I call it being lazy and putting out bitch assness. That's what I call it. Because now we are raising soft generations, man. Soft. Because we're lowering our standards. We're not setting the bar at the correct level. And we're accepting, as my man James Harrison will say, participation trophies. For what? Why? Because you're not giving me what I expect and what needs to be done. Why do I need to lower my standards to make you feel better? No, you either step your game up or move on to something else. These people are trying to pacify these kids now, and I don't understand it, man. You get a bunch of soft ass people that's coming through. You get people, oh, you yelled at me. Oh my God, I'm gonna cry. Man, you got these thumb warriors and don't understand about going out and doing some real stuff and understand that life ain't easy. What happened to setting these morals in here with this generation that's coming out, man? I just don't understand it. I call not all of them, but a lot of them are soft as hell, and it's pretty damn annoying.
Well, I think that people who come to our children and say we're going to lower the standards to make
Can't
you
do it.
feel
Won't do it.
better, they're enemies. They're enemies. How dare you? That's not what I teach my children in my household. I set consistently high standards and I demand that those standards be met. I understand that
Do.
all children don't have the same potential, but I do demand that my children live up to and achieve their potential, their individual potential. And we're not going to lower the standards to make you feel better. To come to a group of people and say that because you can't do it, we're going to just make it easier for you, or because you feel like you can't do it. I mean, you're reinforcing the negative. I'm reminded of a study that was done several decades ago. There was a classroom, there was a school, and it was generally a low achieving school in an urban area. They took one class, and in this class, they told these children that this was the honors class. It wasn't honor students, it was just a regular classroom that they picked at random. And they told these kids that they were honor students, and they gave them more challenging work. And amazingly, the results showed that these kids achieved higher results on testing because it was reinforced that they were the honor students and they were given certain expectations. So if you let children know and remind them that we expect excellence from you, you're more likely to get that excellence. But we allow people to come in and pander to us, lower the standards, lower expectations, and children are not going to exceed the expectations that you give them. And the fact that this person at Michigan State University has this mindset and is teaching teachers this nonsense is dangerous. Because those teachers are going to go out and they're going to go teach in schools. And after a period of time, they're going to be administrators and they're going to perpetuate this and continue the dumbing down of kids in our areas, because they aren't telling kids out there in West Bloomfield or in the suburbs of Norfolk, Virginia, or anywhere else, just lower the standards for kids because we just want to make it easier for them. But in China, in Japan, in Europe, are they telling the kids? Are they lowering expectations there? These are the people that our children are going to be competing with, and you're going to go in a corporate boardroom or be an attorney and have to expect people to hire you, expect to get clients, and you go in and you speak in quote unquote Black English because some professor at Michigan State University said it's okay. Come on now, give me a break.
No, and I tell you from personal experience, man. Look, when I joined the Navy and I went to what they call Corps School, and that's being a medic in the Navy. And at this time, they went away from instructors per se in the classroom. It was called what was called self-paced. So you were kind of teaching yourself, and you would take the test on the computer and go. So they had a plan laid out for you. And I remember I failed one test and it set me behind. And I had one of the instructors and faculty members come tell me, say, hey, you got to take 3 tests this week. I'm like, 3 tests this week? Are you crazy? I was like, I can't do 3 tests this week. It's impossible. That's a lot of information. She sat me down and she says, how do you know what you can do if you never tried? How do you know what you're capable of if you've never been put in that situation to see if you're even able to do it? So that there struck me, and I was like, man. I was like, and I went through and I studied all week, man. I studied and I studied and I studied. I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do it. It just seemed so overwhelming. And I went and I took these 3 tests in this 1 week. And I was just like, Lord, please help me. Jesus, I don't know how I'm going to make it. And Lord and behold, guess what? I passed all 3 of them tests with over a 90% average on all 3 of them because I was put to the test and I accepted the challenge. And if you're an athlete, you put your body through a certain workout and test yourself and push it to the extreme to see if you can get there to a certain level of greatness. When you go to practice every week, yay, I'm not used to running 4 corners or suicides or, you know what I'm saying, two a day. Now after I did 2 workouts, I may go to 3 workouts in a day. If you never did it before, how do you know you can do it? And athletes do it all the time. So if an athlete can condition his mind and his body to be pushed to the limit, to the most extreme and succeed, why can't you do it in the classroom mentally? I don't let my kids come home and accept being mediocre and feel like it's okay. You got to put in that effort. The same way these kids put in effort to learn how to play a video game, to create some app or whatever, these kids aren't stupid, man. They just have to learn to apply the same energy to school that they do with other things. And now you got to make sure that parents do it. I'm not accepting mediocrity at all. And like you, I disagree with that teacher. I'm not setting my children up for failure. Period. I'm
with
not.
you. I'm with you 100% on that. I'm with you 100%. It's amazing to me the things we get mad about. You know, we mad that a person disagrees with us politically. We get mad at so what about the education of your children? What about the people who are speaking to your children, speaking evil, speaking wickedness to your children for thousands of hours every year as they have their earbuds in? What about the single digit proficiency rate in the schools? Aren't you mad about that? I don't see any angry posts on social media about that. You know, let's get mad about stuff that matters. Let's get mad about stuff that's affecting our communities and our neighborhoods, and stop getting mad because somebody disagrees with us.
I mean, I'm with you. Let's be mad because, hey, one, we're not taking control of our own communities anymore. Let's be mad because we're allowing other people to come in our community and take our money and not recycle our money in our own community. Let's be mad that we're allowing these drug dealers and these little young punks to take over our neighborhoods and not sticking up for what's right. Let's be mad because we're not getting the money to open up community centers to give these kids stuff to do after school, to be involved with certain things that needs to keep their attention off of the bad stuff and be utilized to grow their self mentally, economically, to make this neighborhood better. You know, instead of doing research on why we have so many guns, put that damn money that you're gonna put in that research back into the community, making the community, like I said, community centers better, new computers, new job programs for parents to learn different skills that, hey, getting them there. Transportation. A lot of them won't go to these courses because they don't have no transportation. So, but if you're giving them transportation and teaching them, guess what? Now they're learning something. They can go actually make a good, honest living that can really support their family and build up that community, bring more money into that community. And when you start having more residents bringing more money and fixing up their houses and, you know what I'm saying, getting cars, and now that's going to attract more money to come within that community. So it's a trickle down effect. So like you said, man, come on. We got to get mad about the right stuff. We mad about you ain't got the right shoes on. Or, you know what I'm saying? Oh, you think you better than me because you got longer hair or some crap. Man, come on now. Let's make it make sense.
So I want to talk about being first. In here in Michigan, where I am, the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor is not far from where I live, and it is the first Black police chief of the University of Michigan Police Force was just hired. Her name is Crystal James. She was named as police chief of U of M Police Department, and so a barrier was broken there. But the question I want to ask you is, how important is it to be the first woman that? First Black woman police chief of University of Michigan Police Department?
I mean, it's a double-edged sword, but what I'm about to say, hey, some people may agree with me, some people may not agree, you know, to each his own. So I'm putting that disclaimer out there now. So be it. You know what that means, what may be coming out my mouth next.
Oh, give it to her.
So to me, yes, it's nice to be like, hey, I'm the first, but at the end of the day, if I take the word Black out of the equation, does that make you any less qualified? Does that make you any less brilliant? You know, and the problem I have with that, why I say it's a double-edged sword, because that goes into what the LGBTQ plus whatever else they put in there want to say, well, oh, the first gay or the first lesbian or, you know, transgender. That doesn't make you less qualified. That just, people talk like that's just who you are. No, that's a part of who you are. That doesn't define everything of who you, about you. That's only a small part of you. So I'm happy for her. I'm glad they picked who they believe was the most qualified person for that job. And I hope she does a great job. I wish her the best. But I mean, yes, it matters, but then no, it doesn't, because people get stuck on that type of stuff too much versus just picking the right person. Unfortunately, the history in America has been made a black and white thing, because when you go to a lot of other parts of the world, it's not, oh, are you Black or if you white? Are you African? Are you German? Are you French? You know, that's what you are. You're not a Black French person. You're not a Black German. You're German. You're French. You know, you're African. And America was the first country and pretty much the main country that deals with if you're Black or if you're white. That deals with that mess. And it's utterly insane.
Well, listen, you talk about the history of Black people in this country. Obviously, there's a history of discrimination, of bias, of exclusion. And So, when you have people breaking barriers, black people breaking barriers, whether it's in a particular industry or particular job position, it's understandable to celebrate that, to recognize that. At the same time, you have to make sure that doesn't become the sole focus. Obviously, Crystal James was selected because she's qualified to do the job. I don't have any problem with that. And she should be recognized for having the job. But I don't think we should get sidetracked from focusing on the substance as well. I mean, we've had a black president in the United States, and now you have people looking around and say, okay, we celebrated Barack Obama being president, but what did he do for us while he was there? Some people have a good answer for that question. Some people can't really answer. Some people say nothing. Okay, the fact that he was black really didn't matter in the results. You want results. You don't want to. Skin color don't matter if you don't get any results. I saw an advertisement here in Michigan for Hill Harper. The only thing the advertisement said was, because he's running for the United States Senate, there's going to be a vacant seat in the next election, and he said, vote for Hill Harper for United States Senate. He'll be the first black United States Senator from Michigan. And I'm looking for, okay, and what else? What are you going to do in that position? What's your platform? Where do you stand on immigration policy? Where do you stand on tax policy? Where do you stand on education? Where do you stand on a whole host of issues on national defense? He didn't say anything about that. I don't know. Vote for me because I'm black.
Right. And when you talk
some people, they say that's enough. Okay. So any black person, okay, Clarence Thomas runs for president. You gonna vote for him? He black.
Hell, Ben Carson ran and y'all ain't want his ass nowhere close to it. So he was black.
Tim Scott, he's black. So clearly,
really. Really. Oh my God, Trump! Lord knows we need Donald Trump back. Oh my God, we were missing you, man. Come on, look. At the end of the day, bro, I'm with you. You have to have. I tell people, open your eyes, like we said in the episode before. What is your platform? What is your main goal for us? How do we benefit? Like you said, the taxes. What do you bring? Are you trying to bring more jobs to attract more? You know what I'm saying? Corporations to come back here. What are you talking? Like you said, national defense. All of these things. What are you talking about with the military? What is your support towards the military? Do you agree with expanding the military? Or are you trying to downsize on the military?
Ukraine. You want to send another $100 billion to Ukraine, or you want to take care of people here in the United States?
For what? For all of these things are like. How are we going to benefit by having you there? What are we doing about the judicial system? Are you going to be hard pressed to make changes within the judicial system of how it is now with sentencing? What about a lot of women want to know about, because one of the big topics right now is dealing with abortion.
Exactly.
Abortion rights. What are you going to do about that? What's your stance on it?
Well, listen,
making sure that the schools get enough money. The funding is proper, and teacher, salaries. Are we talking about salaries being raised for teachers?
All of those are important issues, but we live in a meme society. We live in a headline society. People only read the headlines. They click on memes and forward memes, and they make decisions based upon these. Listen, when you voting for president, when you voting for United States senator, when you're trying to decide who to support, don't get caught up in the meme nonsense, because you can't boil down a person to a one-liner that somebody forwarded at you. You have to take time to study. Mm-hmm. What is this person's position on the issues that matter to you? Whatever it is that matters to you, but let it be of substance. Where does this candidate stand on public safety? Where does this candidate stand on immigration? And distinguish the candidates and make the selection based upon what's in your best interest. And if everybody does that, we'll end up with, I think, better quality candidates in office. I saw this meme recently about, I see this one often. I saw it multiple times. This is a picture of Joe Biden. He's not the lesser of two evils. He's the far better human. And it's not even close. Okay, what the hell does that mean? Listen, if you look at Joe Biden's policies and you like his policies, vote for him. But be able to articulate what the policy is. Don't tell me that he's a better person, because you don't know that. You don't know that. You don't know what's in that man's heart. You don't know what he's done when the cameras are off. And the same thing with the other candidate. Okay. Tell me what the policies are, because the policies are what we're going to get stuck with. Let his family worry about his personality and whether he's a good human being or not. Let the people at his church worry about what's in his heart. Let God worry about what's in his heart, or what his personality is like, or whether he's mean or nice, or she's mean or nice. Talk to me about the substance, about the policies, about the laws, about the regulations, the things that we're going to have to live with. Because if somebody is focusing on the aesthetics and focusing on the personality, then they're hiding something from you, because they don't want to talk about the policies. They don't want to talk about the things that matter. So they talk about other things to distract from the harm that's going to be done when this person gets into office. So I'm not telling you to vote for one candidate or another candidate, or one is better than the other. What I'm telling you is to be informed, and don't be fooled by memes and by one-liners about who's nice or what's in somebody's heart, because you really don't know. You got horrible allegations against Donald Trump. You got horrible allegations against Joe Biden and the relationships that he has, and cozying up to little girls and little boys.
I mean, you can even go back in the day for the laws that he helped pass with dealing with the 3-strike rule and, you know, the war on drugs back in that era. You know, so yeah, it was questionable laws passed then with him. You could, if you're talking about President Trump and dealing with the Central Park guys, and he was asking for the death penalty and all of that stuff, but then you had rappers up with him, you know what I'm saying, back in the day that was cool with him. So you're absolutely right. But here's one politician, God rest his soul. I wonder if he was in Detroit, would you or would you not vote for this person? You ready?
Who's that?
Eric Mays.
Who is Eric Mays?
Man from Flint. Now listen here. You're not gonna call me.
Yeah. You know what? You should have told me about that in advance. I would have had some videos up of that guy. No, hell no, I wouldn't vote for him. You know what? Because he was too much of a distraction. I mean, you know, I've watched a lot of his videos. I mean, a lot of times he was on some bullshit, you know. So no, I didn't see him as an effect. Now, I don't know. I didn't know everything about his policies, where he stood on issues, but the way he conducted himself in meetings when business is supposed to be done, I thought he was too much of a distraction. I mean, city council meetings are intended to accomplish the business of the people, and he spent too much time, you know, on nonsense. So no, I didn't think he was an effective politician in that regard. But let me put it like this: you go to there's 2 mechanics in town. These are the only 2 choices that you have. One of them is known to be an excellent mechanic. He can with great prices. He can drop a muffler in. He can fix your brakes and all of that. The other person is an incompetent mechanic. He can't fix the car. A lot of times you take your car in and it comes out worse. You go in for a flat tire and it comes out and you need a new transmission. All right, this person's a terrible mechanic. But you go and somebody tells you, well, don't go to that mechanic they call a good mechanic, because he beats his wife, and so you shouldn't go to him. He's a bad person. Well, what you want is your car fixed. I don't like it. It doesn't sit good in my heart that this person, when he's not being a mechanic, he's just a detestable human being. But you want your car fixed. We can't get caught up in assessing a person's, rating their character per se, and ignoring the technical aspects of the job. I'm not saying that it's completely irrelevant, because it can be pertinent, but you also can't ignore the policy. And if you're going to ignore something, the last thing you should ignore is the policy. The last thing you should ignore is the substance, because that's how things get done. And ultimately, that's a politician's job for things to get done. Now, if you on the trustee board at the church and you are selecting a new pastor, then focus on the character, because that's what's most important there. But it's not the only factor to be considered. You have to take care of the substance. Am I making sense?
Here you are, but I just go buy a motorcycle or ride a bike.
You don't deal with either one.
Either one of them. I change up completely on them.
You're a wild boy. All right, so in the field of sports, you have a person this guy Porter? Plays with the Raptors. They say in the game on January 26th against the LA Clippers, there was an increased betting interest on the under for this player Porter, which for the night were set at around 5.5 points, 4.5 rebounds, and 1.5 assists. There was also an over-under for Porter's made three-pointers, which was 0.5. That evening, Porter played just 4 minutes before leaving the game because of what the Raptors said was an aggravation of an eye injury he had suffered 4 days earlier against the Memphis Grizzlies. So what the allegation is is that this guy he knows what the line is on his
He's trash.
performance, and he's cooking the result in order to win money by gambling. Now, I said when sports betting became legal based upon the decision of the United States Supreme Court, and now you have the proliferation of these companies who are promoting sports betting, it was only a matter of time that you had players who are betting on their own sport and particularly their own games. The temptation is just too great. And I don't know whether this guy is guilty of what they're suggesting, but I just think you're going to see more of it.
Well, here's my opinion. First of all, by NBA standards, he doesn't sound like that great of a player, first of all. Second of all, let's make it clear. This has been going on for God knows how long, even before betting became legalized for sports by the Supreme Court. So this is nothing new. It was talks about this since God created the dang on sports of people doing these things. So I'm not surprised. It's just easier to find out this information with all, the internet and all the technology that's out now. You can't really hide it like you used to be able to. So even when we were growing up, you'd hear about it, but it was hard to prove back then. You had a couple people that went down for it, but not that many. But it's been going on since way back then. I mean, penalize them. All right, whatever. But is it going to stop it? No, not at all. That's my opinion.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens with this, man. The gamblers, the people who bet on sports, they lose out because you have an artificial result. The fans lose out because they're not getting the genuine play from some of the players. I mean, it's real dangerous. I mean, it's become so incestuous. For example, you have ESPN in the sports gaming business, where you're supposed to report accurately on sports, but you're in the sports betting business. It just seems like a conflict to me. I don't know, it just something. It seems there's just something wrong with it. I'm no Puritan. I'm a libertarian, man. I believe people should be able to do what they feel like doing as long as it doesn't harm anybody else.
Hey.
So I'm not against gambling per se. I don't think it should be illegal, but at the same time, I think there should be some corporate responsibility to draw some boundaries.
Man, it was, I believe it was the NFL. So the NFL had a case, I forget which player it was, but it was a big-time player. I believe it was like one of the big-time quarterbacks. Can't remember. They were going to suspend him, and they sued the NFL, and they won the case, and the NFL was mad. So what the NFL did, they appealed, right? So when they appealed, and the new twist that the NFL used, they said, oh, it's not sports. What are you, an entertainment company?
Wow.
And by making it a corporate thing, by saying you're an entertainment company, they were able to not have to pay out the fee, and they won the appeal case and didn't have to pay the person and was able to suspend them. So think about it that way. So are we talking about sports or are we talking about entertainment? And that's the thing, man. So everything is about making money, and they want to make as much money as possible. And there's always going to be different twists and turns and ways to get out of it and make more money. So at the end of the day, yeah, bro, you messed up. But is he going to be the last? No. Is he the first? No. So.
Wow. Well, okay, there you have it, brother. Episode 3 in the bag. I think I've enjoyed this one the most so far.
Man. Hey, I told you, bring it on, baby. It's only going to get bigger and better from this point with the topics we bring, man. And just want to let our viewers know, man, look, if you have any suggestions, ideas, topics you want to hear us address, please feel free to let us know. We'd be more than happy to look at it and come up with some stuff and speak up on some of those topics that you want to hear us talk about, and just be just straight up and honest with you about it.
That's right. Well, you can find us on Facebook, the Thomas and Terrell Show, on YouTube. We'll also be expanding to X and Rumble very soon. So look for us. Join us every week. Brother, I love you. Thank you for spending the time. I look forward to next week.
Hey, I love you too, bro.